Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden, and in today's video we are going to be going over the top 25 best car brands of all time. I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm going to try my best to think about every decade, every car that these guys have ever made, and which ones are my personal favorites. Obviously, again, this is a personal favorites list. There are going to be obviously a lot of car brands that aren't on this list and that might have been able to make your list. For example, Bugatti. Bugatti is not on my list of my top 25 favorite car brands of all time. But if you like hypercars and you like that kind of stuff, I'm sure you love Bugatti. Same with Rolls-Royce, for example. Like, I don't care about luxury and stuff like that, but if that's what you're looking for in a car, Rolls-Royce would obviously probably be your favorite car brand of all time. So yeah, I'm gonna do my personal top 25 best car brands of all time, and trying to think about every single generation of them, like every decade of that car brand, and yeah, just go over which ones I like the best. Okay. Because the reason why I said like every decade is because there are some brands on this list. I'll spoil one, for example, Mazda. Mazda, I think, was absolutely killing it in the 90s, sure, but nowadays they don't do anything. So that's the reason why we're doing like every decade. Either way, movie of the day, I actually don't have one, so I'm gonna have to think of this off the top of my head. We're gonna go with Finding Nemo. Yeah, it's a kids movie, but I don't care. I mean, I feel like at this point in today's day and age, I think most people are willing to admit that, yeah, some kids movies are freaking bangers, like absolutely incredible. You can watch them alone as a 25-year-old man and still be like, that was an incredible experience. And the jokes, they're timeless, dude. The jokes, like, they just don't show their age at all. They're so funny, even if you're still like an adult. Like, it's great. It's a great movie. You guys have probably already watched it already, but if you haven't, Finding Nemo is a goat. Easily a goat. Without further ado, let's get right into it though. With number 25 of my top 25 favorite car brands of all time. And that is going to be going to Mercedes-Benz. See, this is one of the car brands where if you're really into luxury vehicles, I'm sure Mercedes-Benz is up towards the top of your list because that's their main selling point. They are a very luxurious car company. Obviously not on the same level as like Bentley and Rolls-Royce and things like that, but at the same time, Mercedes-Benz also tends to make a little bit more sporty cars over Bentley and Rolls-Royce. Like, Bentley does make some sports cars, but Rolls-Royce doesn't make any. And Mercedes-Benz, even though, yeah, their main focus is definitely luxury, they still have some sports cars out there. Now, my big quarrel with Mercedes-Benz, and the reason why I've never been like the biggest fan of them, and everybody knows that, everybody's always kind of like flaming me in my comments and always like, well, why don't you like Mercedes more than you do? Automatic transmissions. Yeah, plain and simple, I like manuals better. And Mercedes offers no manuals anymore, which is very depressing. Coming in at 24th place, also really quickly, I wanted to make it abundantly clear, there's a good chance I just randomly forgot one or two car brands that definitely deserve to be on my top 25. So if you think there's a car brand that is like, Mark Roden probably loves that car brand, but he just forgot it, please leave a comment down below, because I was trying to look up all car brands, but obviously it was impossible to do. And so yeah, either way, 24th place is going to Jeep. I think Jeep back in the day was awesome, and nowadays, even though they have serious reliability issues, which is their main downside now, I still think they get their job done when they're running. They want to go off-road, and it's still to this day is kind of hard to find vehicles that do it as good as Jeep does. I think they're great for what they do. Now, is what they do what I'm looking for? No, and that's the reason why it's at number 24. Coming in at 23rd place, we already mentioned this car once before, it's going to be going to Bentley. Yeah, Bentley is, again, I think Bentley is just a slightly better Mercedes-Benz. In terms of reliability, they're both horrible, but they're both luxury cars, and they both also make sports cars, like the Bentley Continental GT, the Bentley Turbo R. There are definitely some sports Bentleys. While yes, their main focus is definitely luxury, just like Mercedes-Benz, they also do tend to have some more sporty cars, and I think I like Bentleys overall better than Mercedes-Benz. But pretty much everything I said about the Mercedes applies to this one too. I'm definitely not the biggest luxury guy, but there are some nice ones. Coming in at 22nd place, here it is. This is a car brand I mentioned in the intro. Yeah, Mazda. Mazda, man. Mazda, again, dude, for those who don't know, my favorite car in the entire world, my favorite car ever built of all time, is the Mazda RX-7 FD3S. I love that car. I love everything about it. I love Mazda in the 90s. The FC RX-7, the Miatas, the Mazda Speed 3, which is not a 90s car, but you get what I'm saying. Around that era are freaking great. The 323 Mazdas at the time were awesome. They had an incredible run, but unfortunately, they just don't make anything. The only thing they really have anymore is the ND Miata, but I'm pretty sure they don't even make that anymore. So they don't have nothing nowadays. I will say their commuter cars that they have nowadays, like the Mazda 3, Mazda CX cars, they do look fine for a commuter car, but at the end of the day, they are just a commuter car. And so just because they look decent, I'm not going to be a big fan of them. Also, I've heard some reliability issues with modern Mazdas too, which is not great. And yeah, coming in at 21st place is pretty much everything I just said about Mazda, but for this company instead, Mitsubishi. Yeah, for those who don't know, man, Mitsubishi in the 90s had an absolutely phenomenal run. The 3000 GT VR4s, the Eclipse GSXs, obviously the Evos, the Starion was even great, and the Galant VR4s. Mitsubishi had a hell of a run. I think the run that Mitsubishi had in the 90s is a little bit better than Mazda's run that they had in the 90s, which is why I put it one spot higher. But they both kind of dropped off in modern times. As a matter of fact, Mitsubishi didn't just drop off. They like insulted car guys with the Eclipse Cross. I don't know what they were thinking with that thing, but they brought back the Eclipse, which is something that everybody wanted, and they brought it back as a crossover SUV. Don't know why they did that. It was an actual insult. So yeah, nowadays brands like Mazda and Mitsubishi unfortunately just don't do anything anymore, but back in the 90s they were great. Coming in at 20th place, however, is a car brand that's really never missed, but it just doesn't have much, and I'm also just not a big fan of hypercars and supercars. Oh yeah, that's something I should probably mention. There are hypercar and supercar brands in my top 10, but they have to be like incredible, and 20th place is going to Pagani. Pagani is a hypercar brand at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, but they clearly care more about like creating art rather than like actual performance-oriented cars, which is not a bad thing at all, but like a Koenigsegg is going to be faster than a Pagani. It just doesn't, it's not going to have as nice of an interior and as beautiful as the Pagani is like the Rolex of the car world. Like, yeah, it's a beautiful freaking watch, but it doesn't do anything that other watches don't do. You know what I mean? Pagani, I love them. I think they're great, and obviously like pretty much every car, the Huayra, the Zonda. I actually don't really care too much for the new one, the Utopia. I'm not a big fan of that thing, if I'm being honest, but Pagani does do good things. I just don't think they're my favorite hypercar brand out there. Coming in at 19th place, this is like, man, they make some cool, I just wish they weren't so freaking unreliable. Like, god dang. 19th place is going to Aston Martin. Aston Martin has made, I honestly don't think Aston Martin's like ever missed once. Every Aston Martin I've ever seen in my entire life, I've been like, that's a good looking car. They're never like crazy looking, sure, like they don't look like you're not like, wow, like unless like it's the Vulcan or the Valkyrie or the Valhalla or whatever. But for the most part, most Aston Martins just look like nice, you know, they're nice looking sports cars. But they're just so unreliable and way too overpriced for what they are, man. I'll be the first to admit it. They're just too bad for what they are. It's unfortunate because they're so freaking cool. They are such cool cars, but I don't know. I think they're just a little bit disappointing. Coming in at 18th place is a much better British car brand, in my opinion. Not much better, but slightly better British car brand. They're different strokes for different folks, right? But it's going to Lotus. Lotus, I think Lotus is one of the most slept on car brands of all time, man. I love every Lotus I think ever built. Even like the new ones that are kind of like a little forgettable, like the Amira or whatever, it's still a really good car for the price. And like the Lotus Elise, the Lotus Exige, I want a Lotus Exige more than anything. I want a Esprit V8 so bad. Again, the reason why it's down here though, not any higher, is the reliability, just like Aston Martin, and the price tag on these cars. But they are so, like, dude, Lotus Elises are like 30 grand for like a glorified Toyota Camry sports car, let's be honest, okay? And it really probably doesn't deserve to be that high, but I love them so much. 17th place. And, oh, by the way, the reason why like Lotus and Aston Martin aren't any higher as well is because they really haven't really done anything in terms of like impact in the car world, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Aston Martin's never made a car where it's like, wow, that's the best car of all time. Lotus has never done the same, and so that's the reason why they're like a little bit low. 17th place is going to Lancia. Now Lancia did make a massive impact in the car world, especially in the rally scene for obviously Group B rally with cars like the Lancia Delta S4, Lancia Delta HF Integrale Evo, Lancia Delta Stratos, Lancia Delta Stratos, what am I talking about? Lancia Stratos, and then the Lancia 037. Those cars are freaking gorgeous, and they absolutely influenced the car world in terms of motorsports. But unfortunately, that's where the cool cars stopped for Lancia. They never did anything after that, as far as I know, and it's really sad. It's very sad. Imagine if Lancia was still making like incredible rally cars. That would be great. Coming in at 16th place is a car brand that constantly gets praised on my channel. For some reason, everybody kind of glazes this car brand. Everyone loves them. Volvo. I like Volvo too. They're here at my 16th spot, but I don't think they're like the best car brand of all time. As a matter of fact, I think modern Volvos are just unfortunate, to say the least. Like, back in the 90s, yes, Volvos were great, but Volvos were great not because they were great for the same reason as like Lancia. Where like Lancia was great because they just made so many freaking impactful sports cars. Volvo was great because they were just like, how could you not like them? They were reliable as hell, safe as hell, while being rear-wheel drive and kind of fun to drive every once in a while. Like, nothing was bad about Volvos whatsoever. But nowadays, they kind of just, they're still safe as hell. I want to make that abundantly clear, actually. As a matter of fact, I believe modern Volvo is still like one of the safest car brands you can buy. But in terms of reliability, they're not reliable anymore. They're not cool or anything. They don't set themselves apart, and they're not cheap anymore either, which was another big thing about Volvo in the 90s. They were affordable. Nowadays, Volvo is just like another car, and it's just unfortunate what they did with it. They're still cool nowadays, don't get me wrong, but like, they're just kind of forgettable. And here's probably the hottest take of my entire list. I think I'm gonna make some people mad, because it's probably like, if you asked like a survey of car guys what their favorite car brand is, I think this one would probably honestly win. Ford. Also Ford, Mercury, Lincoln, whatever. I'm just gonna talk about just Ford though. Yeah, Ford, for those who don't know, I'm a Chevy guy. I was raised by my dad as a Chevy guy. I like Chevy over Ford, and in my personal opinion, even as an adult, even when I started making my own decisions on cars and things like that, and didn't just blindly follow whatever my dad told me was the best, every time I see something that Ford makes, they get way too overhyped, and then people believe it. And I think that's the main problem Ford has. The problem is Ford has so many freaking fans, so many followers, that like the first thing you hear when you get into the car community is that Ford is great. But then you do your own research, and it's like these things that, remember when the Dark Horse came out and that thing was making 500 horsepower, and people were like, that's incredible. And it's just like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't that incredible. It was good, don't get me wrong, but for a muscle car at the time, it wasn't great or anything, but they were acting like it was great because the displacement was low. I don't care if the displacement is 2 liters. If it doesn't have a lot of horsepower, it's not impressive to me, man. Like, to me, a 7.4 liter 454 big block Chevy making 450 horsepower in the 60s, that's impressive. That's cool. Making 500 horsepower in a 5 liter V8, yeah, sure, it's lower displacement, but like, it's only 500 horsepower, man. I don't know. I've never been the biggest fan of Ford. I think their fans are kind of annoying and just glaze whatever they do. And I don't know. I'm not a biggest fan of them, but they obviously still make incredible cars. So they obviously still deserve to be in my top 25. Yeah, would you look at that? I'm gonna cause some chaos in the comment section down below here, because Ford versus Ferrari, baby. Which one do I choose? 14th place is Ferrari, so obviously I choose Ferrari. I think Ferrari obviously is an incredible brand. I have a big downside to it that I think a lot of people actually agree with when it comes to Ferrari, and that is their unfortunate what's it called? The freaking cease and desist program that they got going on. Pretty much, for those who don't know, if you buy a Ferrari, you can't modify it, because if you modify it and they don't like what you did in terms of modifying your own car that you paid for, they will take it away from you. That is extremely scummy, and I hate that. It's unfortunate because Ferrari makes some insane cars, and so that's why they're here on the list. Like, they do make great cars, but that I can't get around that. Sorry, Ferrari. Coming in at 13th place, however, is another car brand where it's this one's interesting because it's like, yeah, they definitely peaked in the 90s, don't get me wrong, but they are still trying, at least, to make good cars. It's just, unfortunately, I think they're failing in that aspect. Subaru, for those who don't know, kind of made their entire history on rally racing, just like Mitsubishi, but unlike Mitsubishi, they didn't give up on their cars in the early 2000s, and they've been making cool cars ever since. Mainly the WRX, though. They really have stopped caring about pretty much anything else besides that car in terms of their sports car world. Now, they did make the BRZ relatively recently, which is definitely worthy of mentioning. That's a really cool car, and, you know, nothing wrong with that, really, in my personal opinion. But nowadays, modern WRXs are just starting to become shells of their former selves, and it's like, they're rally cars that don't even like stand out as rally cars anymore. They're just kind of regular old sports sedans now, but they claim they're still rally cars, and it's like, how? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of what they're doing nowadays, but at least they're still doing something. Coming in at 12th place, I mean, in terms of reliability, sure, they don't belong up here, but in terms of everything else, they're pretty good. Dodge, Plymouth, and Ram. Again, just gonna kind of drop them all into one here. It's pretty much all the same thing, though. Dodge, Mopar, if you will. Yeah, they're just, I mean, I don't think Dodge has ever really had like a bad time. I guess the 2000s would be their worst time, honestly, which is weird, because usually that's when everybody else was making good cars, but Dodge wasn't really doing too much during then. But dude, it's like every Dodge in the 60s was great. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite muscle cars of all time is the 70 Super B. I think it's a Coronet Super B? No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know. It's a 70 Super B Dodge. I love those freaking cars. I can never remember what they're called, though, because they're so freaking annoying. The names are so confusing with Plymouths and Dodges. But either way, nowadays they're still making great cars. The Dodge Viper is absolutely incredible. The Plymouths at the time were absolutely incredible. Ram trucks are great. I heard they have transmission issues, but that's Mopar and Chrysler as a whole's big downside is their reliability issues. It's a little it's a little risky, but if it's a reliable vehicle, usually they're pretty freaking cool by Dodge. Coming in at 11th place, I love this brand so much except for one thing and one thing only. They're all-wheel drive. Audi. Don't get me wrong, Audi's Quattro all-wheel drive system is obviously like one of the best in the world. I understand that, and you know, I don't think they should make them rear-wheel drive. Don't get me wrong, like that would probably be a bad business decision, to be honest. But me as a stupid car guy that just wants to do some dumb donuts in a parking lot and go drifting with my car, I love how Audis look. I love their interiors. I heard they're actually getting to be quite reliable. Audi had a really bad, unreliable phase there during like the 2000s. They were just horribly unreliable during that time. But nowadays they're starting to become reliable again, I heard. So they have, everything is good there, and they have manual transmissions. Everything is good, and it's, you know, German sports saloons are awesome cars. I think everybody kind of agrees with that. And it's just the fact that they're all-wheel drive, though, man. That's the only thing that I don't like about them. I just wish they were rear-wheel drive. Now, you can swap Audis to rear-wheel drive, but, I mean, let's say you buy, like, an RS6 Avant, you are not going to do that. And if you do, you're probably an idiot. Coming in at 10th place, I think it's only fair to give credit where credit is due to this car brand, even though if I'm being honest, I don't think I'm ever going to buy one of these cars. Volkswagen. Yeah, Volkswagen easily belongs in the top 10 car list. It's just what they've done for cars as a whole is insane. Not in terms of like motorsports or anything. They haven't done any sort of like, I mean, I guess the Volkswagen IDR was like super fast and cool or whatever, but like for the most part, they've never been like motorsport phenoms, you know what I mean? It's like Ferrari or Porsche or McLaren or whatever it may be. But in terms of just like cars in general, the Volkswagen Audi group, the VIG, the VAG, pause, is like the biggest in the world by far, bar none. Pretty much any car that's from the Europeans that you like, there's a good chance it's owned by Volkswagen. It's just like they deserve to be praised, and honestly, even Volkswagen cars themselves are really cool. They're like the German equivalent of Hondas, if that makes any sense. They're like very reliable and fun little front-wheel drive cars that are lightweight, but they're not going to break any land speed records. But this is just not my personal personal Jesus, what is the word I'm looking for? Personal taste in these in cars. So, but yeah, I think they deserve to be in the top 10. Jesus, that was horrible. I was all over the place there. I'm sorry. Coming in at 9th place though. See, I said I was not a big hypercar or supercar fan, but like I said, there are some in the top 10s. They just have to be like incredible. And 9th place is incredible. Koenigsegg. Yeah, there's not a single Koenigsegg in the world that's not cool to me. Not a single one. Every Koenigsegg ever created is a cool car to me. And they're a hypercar brand that's super over the top and beautiful to look at with all these intricate details and features to the car, while also caring a significant amount about the performance and clearly being like, yeah, we're hypercars and we have like the most beautiful interiors you'll ever see in your life and everything like that. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make a fast freaking rocket ship. And like every one of them is just cool. The Regera, the Jesko, the Agera, the CCX, the CC8 GT or whatever they're called back then, CC8S, that was what it was called, the CC8S, and then there was the CC GT, and then now the new like CC850, the Gamera, which was a 4-door 1500 horsepower hypercar. Like these things, the Koenigsegg is just incredible. And if you like obviously just looking at them is really cool, but once you actually start to learn about Koenigsegg and what they do for their cars, they are one of the most influential car brands out there. Like every one of their cars has some sort of cool little like feature or quirk about it that's not just like a tiny little feature either. It's like a pretty big deal. Like for example, the Regera having only one gear, or the CC850 having an automatic and manual transmission, not like automatic into paddle shifters. No, automatic and an H pattern manual right next to it. Like they make some freaking insane strides. The 1-to-1 is literally a 1-to-1 weight ratio car. Like every car that Koenigsegg makes has some sort of cool little vibe about it, and I love it. But coming in at 8th place, I think this is probably Ferrari. It's either Ferrari or Porsche. I would say this is one of, though, the most like influential in terms of motorsports car brands of all time. Porsche, obviously, it's been on the screen for like 20 seconds at this point. But yeah, I mean, dude, the Porsche 911. That's all you have to say. That's literally all. I would say the Porsche 911 is probably the most well-known sports car of all time. Period. Like, yeah, you would think it's like Ford Mustang or Chevy Camaro, but overseas, I don't think those are as like commonplace to know about than it is like here in America. But Porsche 911 is known just literally everywhere, and there's a reason for that. They are mastercraft cars. I'm gonna be honest, if I had Porsche 911 money, I would not buy one. As you guys know, I'm not a big fan of them. I just really just don't care for how they look that much. Just never been a big fan of Porsche 911s. But there's no denying that they are one of the most influential, in terms of sports cars at least, car brands of all time. Coming in at 7th place though, I mean, I own one. What did you guys expect? I make videos on them all the time. What did you guys expect? It's Honda and Acura. As a matter of fact, if anything, I feel like people are going to be a little bit surprised that they're not higher, which is crazy because they're already in my top 10 here at the number 7 spot. But yeah, I think more people are going to think that I would have put it like Honda and Acura in the top 3, but I don't think so. And I think the reason why is pretty obvious. Front wheel drive. Yeah, that's it, man. I've owned 2 front wheel drive cars at this point and 1 rear wheel drive car. And the rear wheel drive car was just, God, it was so much fun. It's like rear wheel drive is just so good, and it's so unfortunate because everything else about Honda is perfect. Literally perfect. They are extremely reliable, extremely affordable, make insane power for nothing. They are extremely influential. They've never really missed in any, like even like the 7th gen Civic, which is like probably the weakest generation of the Honda Civic, is still a cool car. Like every Honda is just incredible, and there's sleepers too. Like everybody else that isn't into cars thinks like Hondas are just like sad excuses of a car, and it's like, but once you start to like learn that Hondas are good, it's like that's when you start to be like, oh wait a minute, maybe I am a car guy. It is just, everything about them is awesome. It has that exclusivity while also not having exclusivity, because it's like obviously everybody has a Honda, but it's also like most people just think of Honda as a daily driver, and then once you start to learn about oh my god, it's just, they're such a good brand, and then they're just front wheel drive, man. Why? Why couldn't they have made just some Civics rear-wheel drive? That would have been awesome, man. Imagine if there was like a Type R FL5 that's front-wheel drive. That's like the base model, sure. But then like you could special order it to be rear-wheel drive. That would have been freaking sick. Yeah, I'm a basic boy. What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do? I don't care. Coming in at number 6 spot, Lamborghini. That's right. I love Lamborghini. I do. I think Lamborghini is like one of my favorite supercar brands of all time, period. My thing with Lamborghini is there's no downside I can think of besides the fact that they're extremely popular, and if you count that as a downside. And I don't. I hate that like argument in anything, whether it's cars, video games, movies, or whatever, where it's like people just don't want to feel like they're basic or whatever, and so they like have to choose something that's different from what the other people like, and so they just hate on Lamborghini because everyone knows Lambos are cool, right? But it's like, no, everybody knows Lambos are cool because they are cool. I love Lamborghini, man. The Murcielago is one of my favorite cars ever created. The Huracan is sick, and there's like the Aventador is great. The new Revelto thing is awesome, which I didn't think I would like any modern supercar for a very long time because I thought they were going down a rough path. But no, Lamborghini shocked me with a beautiful modern supercar. It's the Diablo, the Countach, the Miura. Like, I'm not a big fan of the Countach or Miura, if I'm being honest, but they're obviously influential cars. Like the Gallardo, great car. Like, they're just great. Lamborghini is just freaking great. Coming in at the number 5 spot, might be a hot take here because every other car brand that's in the top 10 is doing great even in 2025 and making really cool cars. However, number 5 is going to Nissan and Infiniti, which unfortunately aren't doing that, really. I mean, they still have the Nissan Z, and I think they're still making the R35 GTR, which, by the way, give that up, Nissan. Jeez, for the love of God, just give us the R36 at this point. It has been out for, what, 17 years now, I think? Jeez Louise. But they still make, and they still make like the Infiniti Q60s or whatever at this point. And so they're still making some, but nowhere near. There are shells of their former selves. Nissan and Infiniti well, mainly just Nissan, in the 90s and early 2000s is why they're all the way up here at number 5. They're rear-wheel drive, manual cars that were reliable. That's another big problem with modern Nissans, by the way. For a Japanese car brand, they are not reliable. It is surprising. But yeah, in the 90s, I think it carries them enough to be all the way up here at number 5. As you guys know, I'm a JDM fan. Obviously, I love JDM cars. In 90s JDM cars, it's like Nissan just had an incredible run. An absolutely impeccable run. Every car was rear-wheel drive with a 6-speed manual. Every car had some sort of like straight 6 reliable reliable motor that can make power. Every Nissan of the 90s was just great. And then obviously the GTR, which was an all-wheel drive beast. Like, it is just... I don't understand how one single car brand managed to make so many just legendary cars in 10 years. It is miraculous to me. Oh, and also for Nissan, before you go into another one, it didn't stop in the 90s either. I think 2000s Nissan was also great. Like, yeah, everybody else hates the 350Z. I don't, okay? I freaking love the 350Z. I think, and then the Infiniti finally came to terms with the fact that, hey, we can make some freaking cool cars too. And it was, realistically, they were just Nissans, but still, like, I think in the 2000s they were also great. Nowadays, though, they kind of suck. Either way, coming in at 4th place is going to McLaren. This is my favorite supercar brand of all time currently, but it could change, obviously. As a matter of fact, I think if you asked me 10 years ago what my favorite supercar brand would have been, I probably would have said Lamborghini, and McLaren definitely wouldn't have been up here. But McLaren has just... I don't know what it is they're doing, but they make freaking art. I'm going to be 100% honest, guys. I don't care. I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. McLaren's all the way up here because I think they look good. That's it. That's it. I don't know anything about their performance. I don't really keep up to date too much with supercar performance, as you guys know. And so I'm pretty much just going off of looks. I think McLaren is actual art on wheels. Like, again, I like to say I'm not a supercar guy, but then McLaren kind of like makes me be like, ooh, I can't really say that, because every McLaren I've ever seen in my entire life is just gorgeous. Every one of them. The 765 LT is quite literally like one of the most perfect looking cars of all time. The P1 is one of the most perfect looking cars of all time. They look like little sharks. It is just incredible what McLaren does in terms of design choices. And then performance is obviously good too. They're supercars, don't get me wrong, but they are British supercars, so they do tend to be a little unreliable. But I mean, they're supercars. I don't think most people are daily driving these things. But either way, it's mainly just the looks, man. These cars could come with a freaking Chevy Cruze 1.8T motor that just blows up after driving it for 10 miles and only has 140 horsepower, and I would still love them just because of the way they look. They're just sexy. Speaking of unreliable Chevys, coming in at 3rd place, baby. That's right, we're in the podiums now. 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Also, I just now realized that 3rd, 2nd, and 1st are all from the 3 main countries. This is the American car brand, and then there's a Japanese and German car brand left as well. It's weird, I didn't plan it that way, but that works out. Either way, coming in at 3rd place, yeah, my favorite American car brand by a long shot. and honestly kind of makes me like understand where the American muscle car craze comes from. Chevy, GMC, and Pontiac, and any other sort of GM products that they decided to build. Mainly just Chevy, though, obviously. I mean, oh my goodness gracious, man. I think I don't think people understand how impactful the Chevy Corvette has been for sports cars. Like, it is just, every generation of the Chevy Corvette just destroyed competition at every corner. It is, even the ones that like people look at as bad, like the C3 and C4, were great cars. They were absolutely incredible for their time. They were watered down versions of like the best Corvettes, don't get me wrong, but they were still good. And it's just like, and then the Camaro, obviously, my favorite muscle car personally. I love the Camaro. I think it's insane. And of all those things that could just be thrown out the window, if you just think about the freaking LS. The LS is quite literally probably the best motor we have ever got in our entire lives. Like, period. There are arguments to be made for the 2JZ, the K series, the N54, I guess, like B58. Like, you can make arguments for other motors, the VR6 Volkswagen motors, the Barra motors. They were good, don't get me wrong, but none is nowhere near as just like incredible as the LS. They were put in absolutely everything. They're extremely affordable, and they can just make insanely reliable, dirt cheap power. And they can fit, they're small too, so they can fit in literally any car you put them in. Chevy is just, in my opinion, damn near perfect. The only reason why it's not literally first place is nowadays they are, I mean, they don't really make anything super crazy. They discontinued the Camaro, which they'll probably come back with that, though. They've discontinued the Camaro like 5 times at this point. But they have discontinued it right now, and the only real thing that they have right now is the Chevy Corvette. And to be honest, in the past like 10 years, they've had a really bad reliability rating on their cars. They definitely peaked in the 60s, though. I mean, the El Camino, Chevelle, Monte Carlo, Impala, like, dude, and then obviously the Camaro and Corvette, like, everything back then was just great. And Chevy is just, I don't know. And in terms of trucks, too, I'm not a big truck guy, so take everything I say with a grain of salt whenever it comes to trucks on this channel, just as a whole. But when it does come to trucks, in terms of like which ones I personally, as not the biggest truck guy in the world, like the best, is the Chevy Silverados. I think the Chevy Silverados are the coolest. The second place is going to be going to my favorite Japanese car brand, which again, I didn't plan it this way, but yeah, this is I don't see how you could not put this in your top 10. Toyota and Lexus. Honestly, it's surprising because Lexus nowadays is it's a 10 times cooler brand to me than Toyota. Like, yeah, Toyota has the GR Corolla, the GR Yaris, and the Supra, but Lexus has like insane cars, like the LC500. Dude, Toyota, quite literally, you can look at any year in history and there's a cool car by Toyota at some point. Like, and on top of all of that, they have remained reliable since the dawn of their inception. Like, they have not ever once during their entire runtime had an unreliability rating. Like, everybody was like thinking that they were bad and unreliable. If anything, modern Toyotas are the ones that people are looking at the most as unreliable. Like, people are starting to question their reliability, especially with like cars like the GR Corolla just catching on fire. The Toyota Tacoma is having to be like a whole engine swap or a whole frame swap because they get rotted out immediately, like only 30,000 miles after they leave the lot. Like, those are questionable things for sure, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, their overall reliability rating is still incredible, and they're affordable. They have some incredible motors from history, like that were just great. They have some cars from history, like the SR20, 2JZ GTE, like obviously the 1UZ. There were some insane 1JZ too. There are some insane motors that they made, and then there are also just some insane cars that they've made. The Mark IV Supra is probably the most well-known JDM car of all time, but other cars like the Celica GT4, the MR2, and then obviously modern Lexus is just, I honestly, man, I honestly think modern Lexus right now might be like the second best car brand in the world, in my opinion. They are making every Lexus that comes out now is cool. Every one of them has some sort of cool trim, and they're reliable as hell too while they're doing it. I love it. I love Toyota and Lexus so much, and I think it easily deserves second place. But if you've watched me at any point during any one of my videos ever, then you probably know that my favorite car brand of all time, and in my opinion the best car brand of all time, is BMW. I think BMW is just so gosh darn perfect, man. The only downside, and it is a big downside, I'll give you that, is the reliability. Obviously, there are some BMWs that are extremely reliable, and then some that are so unreliable it's not even worth looking at them. If you look at them the wrong way, the windshield might crack. It is unfortunate because it's like a gamble when you buy a BMW whether or not it's going to be a reliable one or an unreliable one, at least if you don't do your research. Obviously, if you do your research, you'll figure out which ones aren't reliable and which ones aren't, but you get what I'm saying. That's the only downside, and honestly though, they're working on it. And that's the biggest, like, they're making their cars. Modern BMWs haven't really had a bad reliability rating for quite some time now. It's just like back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, they were just dog water. I mean, they were like the most unreliable cars of all time. but goodness gracious, everything else about them is freaking incredible. They have that beautiful like German quality to it, where it's like the interior is beautiful, everything is extremely over engineered and kind of annoying to work on, but everything like works perfectly together and everything like that, while also having just insane fun factors to them too. Like, again, that's my big downside with Mercedes, Audi, and Volkswagen. I like German cars, I do, but what I like in a car isn't in those brands. I like rear-wheel drive manual transmission cars, period. That's all there is to it. That's what I enjoy. Volkswagen has manual, but it's not rear-wheel drive. Audi has manual, but it's not rear-wheel drive. Mercedes has rear-wheel drive, but it's not manual. And BMW has that combination, and it just becomes incredible. And they also have some incredible motors too, by the way. Obviously they have the S54, the N54, the B58, which is, dude, I think the B58 is going to go down in history as like the modern 2JZ. I really do. That thing is, what that motor can do with such simple mods, but reliably too, is miraculous. I don't think people understand that. And I understand that nowadays it is very, very basic to say BMW is your favorite car brand of all time. And so maybe it's just that. Maybe it's because I'm a YouTuber. I spend a lot of my time on social media, so maybe I've been like propagandized into thinking BMW is great or whatever. But I don't know. I don't think so, man. I think it's just that as I'm getting older, I'm starting to freaking appreciate these cars. I love them. I love them so much. And I think, again, the reason why a lot of people do love them is because they're great. Like, I don't think the reason why people are loving BMW is just so they can fit in, man. I really don't think so. I think it's just because they're freaking incredible. As a matter of fact, my next car is going to be an F82 M4. I want one. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video of my top 25 best car manufacturers, in my opinion, in 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what other videos you'd like to see in the comment section down below. Check the links in the description for any of my other social medias or any of my other YouTube channels, and I will also be leaving a comment down below with my new YouTube channel where I'll be uploading any sort of just random Mark Roden yapping videos, because as you guys know, I like to yap. I got ADHD. It just comes out. It's the diarrhea of the mouth, man. I'm just pooping all over the place on you guys, and I don't like that. I feel bad when I'm just yapping about things that don't make any sense for the video. So I made a whole channel just so I can literally go over there and just yap about whatever it is I want to talk about that day, because that's what I started YouTube for in the first place. I literally, for those who don't know, the reason why I started YouTube was because I loved talking about cars so much, but nobody ever wanted to listen to me talk about cars because I would just ramble about it. And so I made a whole YouTube video channel so I could just get all my like word jumbos out there about cars, and just not bother anybody when doing it. And then somehow it bothered enough people to make a living off of it, so it worked out, I guess. But either way, yeah, that channel will be down in the comment section down below. Now I forgot what I was. Oh yeah, I'm going to do a video, I think, on the this same thing, the top 25 best car manufacturers, but in 2025. And then I might even do one in the 90s, but I'm not gonna do it for like every decade. But I want to do one for the top 2025 because the list would be completely different, like completely different. Like, dude, Chevy in 2025 is really not that great anymore. Like they still, I think, are making cool cars, but they're not like insane, you know what I mean? Like, it was mainly the 60s where they were just beasts of car, like, and they cemented themselves as a legendary car brand right at their like launch pretty much. But nowadays they don't really do too much, and so I kind of want to change it up and go over which ones I think are the best now, because it would be completely different. I still think BMW would be first, spoiler alert, if I decide to do that video. Like, I think modern BMWs are still incredible, besides like the G90 M5, but like everything else I think is great. But yeah, let me know what you guys think on that idea. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Das Vidania, and have a nice night.